YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. If you haven't noticed, the government is hell-bent on removing the citizens' right to free speech. Our government wants to turn America into communist China, yet all of these people on the left and all of these people on the right and all their political ideologies can't see what's happening right in front of their eyes because they're worked into hysterics over government-created psyops. And the government creates psyops and false flags and fake assassination attempts so that you carry out what the government already wants for us. They want you to do it for them. And that's what we've seen over the last couple of years with what they call cancel culture. Now that Charlie Kirk, the character, is no longer on the public stage, we are now watching a version of behavioral control because conservatives are very upset that there would be Democrats, liberals out there who would cheer for the death of somebody that they've never even met before. In fact, they're so upset about it, they're making coordinated efforts to take people's jobs away. They're making coordinated efforts to dox people who post things online that they don't like when they're celebrating Charlie Kirk's character being assassinated. So because these people have a difference of opinion and they're celebrating death, they're now beginning, like I've warned about for years, to move the goalposts on what hate speech actually is. And hate speech could be whatever you want. They tell us that hate speech is making fun of somebody who might be gay. Hate speech is questioning or saying anything negative about the state of Israel. Hate speech is if you're a white person and you criticize a black person or use a word that might offend them. These are all things that they've told us are hate speech. And those are all foundations that they've set up so that they could continue to remove the rights of the citizens. And it's not about them caring or wanting to protect certain groups like the LGBTQ. It's about the government taking away your right to speak, just like in China, especially when it comes to questioning the actual government. So this has been a mass movement since the days of the assassination. I've often called this the seesaw. It's a political seesaw. The left's on top for a little while, then the right's on top. It's the same exact thing playing out. 4 years ago, Democrats were canceling everybody they disagreed with. I obviously been canceled over 90 times on certain platforms like YouTube. Why? Because people didn't like what I was saying, and I warned them, look, if we begin to do this, instead of you just shutting it off, which is all, you could just turn it off and not listen to me. You could just say, that guy's a nut, that guy's a conspiracy theorist, I'm going to turn it off. But instead, what they wanted was everybody they disagreed with to be canceled. And I warned then, and you're seeing it now. Now the conservatives who once defended free speech are calling for the removal of free speech. And they're doing this under the entire psychological operation known as Charlie Kirk's assassination because they believe that anybody who's celebrating his death is hateful. And we're hearing hate and love. These are constant terms that they're using. So the seesaw goes back and forth. The seesaw is citizens canceling out other citizens' freedoms. And now we're seeing it tenfold. Do you remember during the pandemic when your government told you that if you didn't get vaccinated, you weren't allowed to have a job? And all the Democrats out there agreed. They said, I agree. These people shouldn't be allowed to have a job. We all remember the wave of censorship online, the removal of YouTube channels, the removal of, Facebook posts. If anybody out there was questioning the vaccine, if anybody out there was talking about graphene oxide, censored by, and Democrats cheered for that, right? Well, now it's going the opposite way because that's how the seesaw goes. And now we're seeing all of these conservatives not only calling for people to lose their jobs, which is insanity. They're actually doxing these people. So if somebody posts something online, they're like, I'm glad Charlie Kirk's dead. They're putting up that person's name, that person's address, that person's phone number, so other people show up at their house and throw eggs at it or call them on their phone in the middle of the night and harass them. This is absolute absurdity, and this is behavioral control. Remember, this is all about controlling our behavior. Remember when Larry Fink said, we're forcing behaviors? This is how they force behaviors. They're forcing people to change, making people afraid to say things online now because they're afraid that they might get prosecuted, because that's exactly what Donald Trump and Pam Bondi are calling for. But here was Larry Fink talking about behavioral control. And if you don't know, Larry Fink is the new face of the World Economic Forum, but his company BlackRock also owns everything. I mean, everything. They're invested in everything from railroads to marshmallows, you name it. This company, BlackRock, has their hand in it. And thus they have their hand in these psychological operations that get carried out, just like Trump's assassination attempt and the direct connection to Larry Fink and that BlackRock commercial. But here's Larry talking about wanting to control behaviors.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year, and what we're doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted. Okay,
we're doing the same thing.
And so it's just you have to force behaviors, and if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities, and we're going to have to force change.
And again, we've heard Alex Karp of Palantir talking about it as well, which is going to bring in the surveillance state. Donald Trump's buddies at Palantir who are helping ICE, all the conservatives are cheering for Palantir when they don't know that Palantir is literally Big Brother. And Palantir is calling for behavioral control and behavioral change, just like Larry Fink, and they're going to impose it the further we get with artificial intelligence and online speech and online hate speech. And this is what it's headed toward. This is the first domino that we're seeing since Charlie Kirk's assassination. There will be more. There will be laws passed. But what we're seeing right now is all about people being held accountable for their opinions. You're not allowed to have an opinion that somebody disagrees with. You're certainly not allowed to cheer for somebody's death, right? This is utter insanity. People are losing their jobs at universities. Inappropriate comments about Charlie Kirk's shooting lead to university firings. There's article after article. What about Charlie Kirk firing? It's becoming a new normal thing. If you're posting online about Charlie Kirk, you better erase it or delete it before your boss finds out, because you're going to get fired. And then it spreads, right? It spreads when corporations and companies out there start hearing this. And they're going, right, look at all these big companies, these big universities firing people for what they're saying online. Well, we're going to keep that in mind as well, not based on how the person performs at work, based on a person's actual opinions. And these unhinged psychopaths at MAGA are all calling for the same draconian rule, the same tyranny, the same crap that we've all argued about for years and years and years about Democrats not allowing people who had who are concerned about COVID vaccines to share their opinion. You're not allowed to share your opinion. Why? Because it's misinformation. And by you sharing that you don't think the vaccine is safe, you're making other people out there not go and get vaccinated. Yeah, we're saving people's lives, actually. That's what we were all doing. All right, but they called for all of us to lose our jobs and for all of us to lose our platforms to speak on. And now it's going the other way. And here is Pam Bondi. This is where it gets real scary, okay? Pam Bondi, for anyone out there that doesn't know, is the attorney general under Donald Trump. And she said a lot of stuff already about hate speech with some of the false flag events that have occurred this year, including some of the shootings of people who wear small hats, right? Some of those psyops that they've created and how they're going to prosecute and go after anybody out there for hate speech. Here's Pam Bondi. Listen to this insane speech, followed by Donald Trump talking about how maybe we need to start prosecuting journalists for their opinion because Donald Trump finds it hateful. And I've said this before, you could define hate as anything. Somebody could call you, we're conspiracy theorists, they claim. I mean, we're really facts, we're people who are spitting facts. But what do they call most of us? Tinfoil hat wearers, nuts, crazy people, right? That could be considered hateful. Now, me personally, I couldn't care less. You could say whatever you want about me. I wouldn't even blink twice. But the more the government's able to refine what the word hate is and hate speech is, the more control they're going to be able to have over you and your mind. Because making you afraid to say the things that you're feeling is a form of behavioral control. And here's Pam Bondi talking about, we will target people. The government will prosecute and target people who are spreading hate online. She's literally saying, if you're online and you're saying you're glad that Charlie Kirk, the character, is dead, we're going to come after you. And Donald Trump following it up by saying, yeah, and in fact, we're going to start going after journalists who have an opinion that I disagree with, right? So whoever's in control then could dictate what can and cannot be said. Incredible.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? A lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
We'd probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you.
And it gets even more frightening than that, because then we get some of these guys who are gloating on national television and saying that Democrats need to beg for forgiveness if they want to be able to have jobs in this country. If they don't change their behavior and mourn Charlie Kirk's death, then they don't deserve to work. They don't deserve to be a part of our society. Does that sound familiar? Remember when they told us if we didn't get vaccinated, that we couldn't be a part of their society anymore? Does anybody see the similarities between the two and how hypocritical all of this is? This is absolutely absurd, and we're giving the government a green light. A green light because MAGA conservatives are calling for this. They're doing it. They're not getting prosecuted for doxing people, which is illegal, by the way. They're just asking the government to do more and go after these people because they need something. They need something for Charlie Kirk. They feel like they've been wronged and they need something. These people are under hypnosis, ladies and gentlemen. They are under a spell. They are calling for the extermination of free thought. That's what they're calling for. I'm going to play you these two news clips that aired on national television. They're starting to call Democrats domestic terrorists, just like they did with Christians and conservatives the last couple of years. You'd have Biden on television and Obama talking about domestic terrorists because of the entire false flag operation known as the insurrection. They started lumping people like me and you in because we're conspiracy theorists, even though we have no political affiliation and all we all try to do is expose how controlled the left and right is. Here they are talking about the fact that you're going to be exiled. You will be exiled if you don't change the way you're thinking about Charlie Kirk. You will be prosecuted and you will lose your income. All over people celebrating the death of somebody that they've never even met. This is getting frightening.
There is a domestic terrorism movement in this country. When you see these organized doxing campaigns where the left calls people enemies of the republic, calls them fascists, says they're Nazis, says they're evil, says they have to be removed, and then prints their addresses, what do you think they're trying to do? They are trying to inspire someone to murder them. That is their objective. That is their intent. And when you see online, Sean, as we've seen for the last few days, tape after tape after tape of federal workers, bureaucrats, staffers in the Pentagon, educators, professors, healthcare workers, nurses, celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. These are radicalized people. There is a domestic terrorism movement in this country. And let me tell you something I've not shared with anybody, but the last message that Charlie Kirk gave to me before he joined his creator in heaven was he said that we have to dismantle and take on the radical left organizations in this country that are fomenting violence. That was the last message that he sent me before that assassin stole him from all of us. And we are going to do that under President Trump's leadership. I don't care how. It could be a RICO charge, a conspiracy charge, conspiracy against the United States, insurrection, but we are going to do what it takes to dismantle the organizations and the entities that are fomenting riots, that are doxing, that are trying to inspire terrorism, and that are committing acts of wanton violence. It has to stop. And my message is to all of the domestic terrorists in this country spreading this evil hate: you want us to live in fear? We will not live in fear, but you will live in exile, because the power of law enforcement under President Trump's leadership will be used to find you, will be used to take away your money, take away your power, and if you've broken the law, to take away your freedom, Sean.
I mean, it seems they're everywhere. I mean, it's brought these people out of wherever they've been. I mean, it's pilots, it's school teachers, it's professors at college universities. Jesse.
Yeah, these aren't fringe people. These are people that are teaching your children celebrating Charlie Kirk being assassinated. These are neurologists. These are people who work at Fortune 500 companies, and they're sounding like the devil himself. And so these people, we don't have to tolerate. We can forgive, but they have to get on their knees and they have to beg for forgiveness. They have to repent their political sins. Only then will we allow them back into polite society. Until then, we will be seeking them out and exposing them with sunlight. We will disinfect them with sunlight. Everything they say or do will be exposed, and then everybody will know who they are. And they will not be allowed to be with us, live with us, be in our companies, be in our social groups. No. I'm not living with people who celebrate assassinations. This isn't like a freedom of speech thing where, like, oh, yeah, I disagree on the border. This is like my guy just got shot in the neck and you guys are cheering. You're going to a vigil and you're dancing on the guy's grave. You don't deserve to be able to say that and then have no penalty. There will be costs. There'll be social costs, financial costs. We will shame, excommunicate them, banish them. And that is a promise. And until then, game on.
You can even hear they try to use like Christian terminology to suck Christians in. I've been saying this, like the good and evil thing. Now we're hearing the word repent. He's saying everybody out there needs to repent. Repent for cheering for Charlie Kirk's death, and maybe we'll forgive you. But you should be exiled. You should not be a part of our society if you're celebrating and behaving this way. They're telling you how you have to think. They're telling you how you have to behave. And now conservatives want Democrats to live that way. How people out there don't see that this is a government operation. And everything that's going on, every reaction that you're seeing from all of these people is exactly what the government wanted, which is exactly what they knew would occur if they did a simulated assassination in front of everybody's eyes, putting them through a version of trauma-based mind control because they all believe that they witnessed a public execution. And because they witnessed a public execution, even though it was not real, they believe in their mind that they're a part of this thing. And one of their own got shot. They feel like they're on the battlefield as if they were in war, and they watch this person next to them get shot and they want to go do something. But what can they do? What can they do? Well, they could begin taking away people's rights to have a difference of opinion. And this all obviously will start leading towards digital ID as well, where you'll be prosecuted for the things that you say on the internet. That's what it's headed towards, and I'll cover in a separate video. That's what we're going to see with all of these things. Like I said, days after the shooting, the fake shooting, was they were going to start talking about Discord, online chat rooms. How did this not get stopped beforehand? Because he was telling people what his plans were. Well, if AI was in place, we could have had a nice pre-crime arrest, and we could have arrested him beforehand for not committing a crime, but potentially committing a crime. And that's what they want to put in place here. So we're seeing a full-on attack on free speech. And now we're seeing a full-on attack on free opinion. You're not allowed to think this way, they're telling you. This is all from Big Brother. This is all from Big Brother. It's both sides of the aisle that they're controlling and manipulating, and they're doing the bidding for Big Brother. Conservatives are now canceling the other side, just like the other side was canceling conservatives and free thought during COVID, and even the opinion of comedians. How many comedians have we seen get canceled because they crack a joke that might be offensive? These two sides are literally bringing us to our enslavement. That's what they're doing. And they're going to make it so that the biggest crime that possibly could be committed is somebody posting something online that's offensive or could seem threatening. You'll get arrested for those types of things. The thought police are here, ladies and gentlemen. And now you could thank Charlie Kirk, because this is problem, reaction, solution. Wake up. The people need to wake up if they're sucked into this psychosis. They don't want to believe that it's not real. How could it not be? Oh, yeah. I already got a video removed online, the one where I showed and broke down Charlie Kirk's wife. Well, why do you think they removed it? Well, they said it was hateful. Hateful. Now I just said that this is an actor, and that's an actor. That's what they are. And they probably have staged children. You never see the kids' faces in any of the pictures, really. Right? Just like we talk about Obama, everyone says that Michelle's a man. So then who were Obama's kids, right? They obviously removed the video because they weren't trying to protect Erica Kirk. They're trying to protect their psychological operations. And when you have videos like that, where I can break down and show you that this isn't normal behavior, this isn't how people act after their husband supposedly has his head almost blown off on national TV. You don't get a funeral this fast. You don't get this. You don't get that. And everybody was looking at the behavior of Erica Kirk, and they were going, yeah, this is really weird. I've talked to people who the first day that this happened were like, I can't even listen to you. That's insane to think of. Once they started seeing Erica Kirk, they started going, you know what? This is a little bit weird. It is a little bit weird. Something's not right here. Something isn't right. Why is she behaving like this? This isn't normal behavior. Why is she giving a pep talk to MAGA 2 days after her husband supposedly was shot? Why can't she muster up any real tears? Lots of things that people were questioning. So they removed that video because they don't want you to have independent thoughts. This is about behavioral control. When Larry Fink says we're going to force behaviors, this is what you're seeing. People don't seem to understand that. Forcing behaviors. People are going to be afraid to write their own thoughts online because they're afraid they're going to get arrested. That's how they force behaviors. You better shut your mouth at all times. And when the government decides to come and kick you in the nuts, you better smile and ask for another. That's what they're doing. Don't question it. Just like China. Don't say anything. We'll freeze your bank account. Don't say anything. We'll take your job away. We'll dox you online. Don't talk. And that makes people afraid to say what they feel. Now, you could look at it and you go, well, isn't it disgusting that people are celebrating a death? Well, it's psychotic, but this whole left-right paradigm is psychotic. These are characters that they're all, admiring and sucked into and believe is a real person as if they know them because the internet's a psychosis. So these people see his pictures on Instagram. They know Charlie. I saw Charlie debate people, and he has the same ideologies as me, right? Yeah. Well, you see how the government gets what they want by creating these events because you react the way that you're reacting to it. Now you're asking for all people who celebrate the death of somebody instead of just going, I don't care if they're celebrating, if they're sick. That's what you should just be saying. Well, that's, you just be laughing, just be like, that's kind of sick. But these people are so deep in the government psychosis that they are, in fact, now trying to bring in hate speech, crime, criminalizing speech online, and even having Pam Bondi and Donald Trump tell you, you know what, we're going to prosecute journalists as hate speech now. The lines continue to get stretched. The goalpost continues to widen, so to speak. And eventually, hate speech is going to be you saying, you know what, I don't like what the government's doing. I don't like the fact the government's telling me to ration electricity. Oh, excuse us? All right, then you get no electricity. We'll shut the whole house down and lock you inside. That's what this is about. It's about you questioning government. They don't give a crap about the LGBT. They don't give a crap about Christians. What they care about is controlling your behavior and your thoughts and working you as best as they can to get you to ask for these things. Because if the government just showed up without any of these psyops or false flags, nobody would be on board. Democrats and Republicans would band together and they'd say, who do they think they are? They're coming and telling us that we can't speak online. Well, they got to create these false flags so that you do it for them. That's how this whole thing works. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.